There's a pattern a lot of people get stuck in. And it's tricky because it doesn't look like failure. It looks like starting over, right? They begin something, they make a little progress, they get some momentum, and then somewhere along the way, they stop. But what's crazy, not completely though, not completely, right? Just enough to lose rhythm. And instead of finishing, they simply reset and they start all over again. They start with a new plan, they start a new approach, and they start with what they think or feel is a better idea. And for a moment, as usual, it feels like progress, right? Like this time things will be different. When in reality, the pattern is just repeating. The pattern is as such: start, build momentum, stop, reset. Start, build momentum, stop, and reset over and over and over again. And the problem isn't that they can't do it, right? That's not the problem. It's that they never stay with something long enough to finish it. Because somewhere in that process, something breaks. The clarity fades, the urgency disappears, the pressure drops. And once that happens, delay comes back. So instead of continuing, right, they go back to the beginning because starting over feels easier than finishing something that's already in motion. See, starting over feels clean, like a clean slate. It feels controlled. It feels safe, but finishing, finishing is it's different, right? Finishing requires you stay with something, even when it's no longer exciting, when it's no longer new, even when there's nothing else left to figure out. And that's where most people fall off. Not in the beginning, but near the end. Because that is where delay becomes tempting again, right? That's where air hunger disappears and comfort comes back in. So they reset. And every time that they do, every time that they do, they reinforce the pattern. They train themselves to start but never finish. And over time, mm, over time, that becomes their identity. Someone who begins things but never completes them. And other people notice that in them as well. But there's a shift that happens. When and that shift comes when you see it clearly. You stop resetting, and you don't stop resetting because you found a better plan. You stop resetting because you stop leaving. You stay, you fixate, you continue, and you finish. Because completion, oh boy, completion breaks the cycle. It ends the pattern. And it creates something most people never experience: momentum. And not just momentum, but momentum that carries forward instead of restarting from zero. But most people, they never reach that point. And it's not because they can't, anybody can, but because they don't know how to stay with something long enough to complete it. And that's the next thing to understand. So subscribe, because that's what we're going to break down in the next video.